We are a new generation of explorers and are about to be launched on a fantastic voyage to the unknown, to reshape the universe and to experience the future. Hello, I'm Nichelle Nichols. Welcome to Inside Space. Everyone has fantasized about traveling into space, but very few of us have ever been there. Space is actually not that far away. It's only 100 miles straight up. The problem is, it's not that easy to get to. You need an enormous rocket, massive amounts of fuel, a big launch team, and oh, let's not forget about an astronaut. Or maybe, let's forget the astronaut. If you want to go where no one has gone before, the next best thing may be computer simulation. Welcome to the brave new world of virtual reality.
30 years ago, computers helped launch the age of space. They put us on the moon and steered us safely home.
99, proceeded, 3, 2, 1, ignition. Right away, Houston. Vector grid. Ag 5.
Today, you can travel to far-off worlds and never leave home. Space probes provide the sights. Computers provide the ticket. And you're off on a trip into virtual reality.
There is nothing mystical, really, about virtual reality. We're currently orbiting Venus and digitizing the entire planet. The only way to explore Venus is virtually. If you're there at Venus in orbit, you can't see through the clouds. If you try to land, you melt. But what we can do with radar is we can digitize the planet, bring it virtually down to Earth, and then explore it.
Stereo display goggles, often used for virtual reality systems, provide three-dimensional vision that moves as this NASA scientist turns his head. Data gloves, laced with sensors connected to computers, actually permit an individual to reach into a virtual world. One can move around and perform various jobs.
Task completed.
The bobsled run at Albertville, France, site of the 1992 Olympics. This is a very real simulation, a computerized duplicate of the Albertville track that provided unlimited practice runs for bobsled driver Brian Richardson of the U.S. team.
What makes it feel realistic? It's hard to say, but I just look at the video and you just sink right in and you get the feeling that you're there.
The simulation is a form of virtual reality. It was created at the University of California at Davis and is being operated at Silicon Graphics.
I would like to provide Brian and his teammates that just little bit of extra edge that puts them on the podium.
A victory of even greater dimensions was Operation Desert Storm. It was accomplished in part by the superiority of the U.S. tank crews, whose training includes virtual reality battle practice. In the home, the Japanese are now using virtual reality to design their kitchens. Experts suggest that this is just a small glimpse of how this miracle technology will help us in the near future. The Boeing Aerospace Company believes that their own virtual reality is about to become real.
We're not trying to develop a virtual world in a science fiction sense. We're trying to develop tools to help people do their jobs better.
Boeing designers will soon enter a virtual workplace to test and perfect planes and spacecraft.
It's a very, very rapidly developing technology. In fact, this isn't something that's 10 years away at all. I believe over the next 3 years, you're going to see dramatic and almost required usage of these kinds of technologies in a lot of fields.
Virtual reality is changing our reality. We can only guess where it will lead and how it will change our tomorrow. In the words of Arthur C. Clarke, the author of 2001, it is important to think about the future. As has often been pointed out, we'll spend the rest of our lives there. When we come back to Inside Space, one man's search for the creation of the universe. At best, predicting the future has been a game of hit or miss, with mostly misses.
Ever been skeptical of flying saucers? Well, would you believe a real-life saucer aircraft right out of science fiction? It's the after-hours pet project of aeronautics professor Paul Muller of the University of California, who is ready to test fly it. Its diameter is 14 feet. Everybody ready? The 5-minute flight is restricted to a 3-foot altitude, since Muller is not a licensed pilot, and flying saucers aren't recognized aircraft. The tether line was needed because high winds made free flight dangerous. The craft is powered by 2 motorcycle engines. A 2-seater ready soon may be the car or chopper of the future. Help wanted, a crew of little green men.
And now for an Inside Space exclusive. What do we know about the universe and how do we know it? So begins A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. If you've read his bestseller book, you'll also be happy to know you can now explore the mysteries of the universe on film and journey into the mind of an extraordinary man.
Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Did the universe have a beginning, and if so, what happened before then? Where did the universe come from, and where is it going?
Stephen Hawking, theoretical physicist. Though confined to a wheelchair, his mind soars the universe.
If you were watching an astronaut foolhardy enough to jump into a black hole at some time on his watch, say 12 o'clock, he would cross the event horizon and enter the black hole. But no matter how long you waited, you would never see the astronaut's watch reach 12 o'clock. Instead, each second on the watch would appear to take longer and longer, until the last second before midnight would take forever. Thus, by jumping into a black hole, one could ensure that one's image lasted forever. But the picture would fade very rapidly and grow so dim that no one could see it. The astronaut wouldn't notice anything special when his watch reached midnight and he crossed the event horizon into the black hole. Until, of course, he approached the singularity and was crushed into spaghetti. Einstein never accepted quantum mechanics because of its element of chance and uncertainty. He said, "God does not play dice." It seems that Einstein was doubly wrong. The quantum effects of black holes suggest that not only does God play dice, he sometimes throws them where they cannot be seen.
Stephen Hawking may be a genius, but our resident astrophysicist has an alternative theory.
Imagine I'm a scientific phenomenon. I'm a black hole. Let's think of it this way. this cookie is you. And you just happen to be drifting along in space. Then you start swirling and swirling, and then I start pulling you into eternal darkness and nothingness. Closer and closer, you can't hide. So there, MIT. Believe me now?
Waiting for launch on Inside Space, Star Trek, and a spacesuit fashion show.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise.
In 1966, when NASA scientists were trying to put a man on the moon, you and I were exploring distant galaxies. Gene Roddenberry had already launched us into space with Star Trek. In honor of the classic television series, the first space shuttle was named Enterprise. And although the original Star Trek has become a part of science fiction history, its legacy continues.
Imagine that you could step into the world of Star Trek, travel through the galaxy at warp speed, meet a new alien every week, and wage intergalactic battles with your worst enemies. Now you can at the National Air and Space Museum's Star Trek Retrospective, running through January 31st in Washington, D.C. The exhibit includes a section on Trekkie fan culture, games, music, and gear. Memorabilia from exotic to erotic. Women from remote corners of the galaxy each had their own look. And together, the crew of the Enterprise made space a glamorous place to explore.
And we were exploring the fashion frontier, too. How about those outfits we wore? Hemlines ain't what they used to be.
Hemlines searching. Inappropriate terminology for spacesuits, Nichelle. Total body coverage required.
And you've obviously never had to worry about Nielsen ratings. But you're right. The outfits we wore inside on the bridge would never protect an astronaut out in space.
Tracing history of spacewear. Retro Retrieve. Birth of spacesuit fashion. You've come a long way, baby.
In space and on the surface of the moon, man faces a hostile environment. A near vacuum of heat and cold, of lethal radiation, of bombardment by micrometeoroids. Protection is provided by the spacecraft, but is also needed when man leaves his craft to explore on his own.
First spacesuits built entirely for men. Explains bad taste in accessories. And now our cosmic fashion runway. The fall collection for 1935. Demurely modeled by aviator Wiley Post. He tried to fly his plane higher than any human had ever flown before. Wiley designed this suit to go there in perfect safety. Notice the trendy diving suit influence.
His choice made sense. Our bodies can't take tremendous changes in pressure. Suits airlock so that changes in altitude and pressure don't affect us, deep under the ocean or thousands of miles in space. Floating in space is like floating in water. Maybe Wiley dressed like a kitchen appliance, but he did have the right idea.
Now tell me, darling, would you be caught dead in this? It's the 1950s and inflatable fashions are all the rage. This bubble suit was created for a lunar mission. Designers actually thought the moon might collapse under astronauts' feet. Discovering that it didn't saved everyone tons of embarrassment. Launching into high fashion history in April of 1961, this padded coverall with matching helmet from that tasteful team of Soviet fabric magicians. The space fashion race is on, and only 10 months later, not to be outdone, the American houses of style fly this elegant ensemble custom cut for that all-American boy, John Glenn. Perfect for this momentous occasion, he shows us a sleek silver high-altitude design.
But it wasn't until our first spacewalker, Ed White, that a suit was actually used outside a spaceship.
The color white matches everything, so this suit just wouldn't quit. Warning, above 52,000 feet, human body fluids begin vaporization. Without a suit, blood will boil. Also, the suit must protect against bullet-like micrometeorites and very extreme temperatures. Perspiration is a perpetual problem in space, let me tell you. Most of today's post-jet set partygoers agree liquid-cooled underwear is the best solution. Those macho Apollo astronauts wore water in their underwear on the moon.
When much to my surprise, a pair of bunny eyes.
Rolling Apollo spacesuit model, late 1960s. Soundbite follows.
The main part of the spacesuit is a custom-tailored unit covering all the body except head and hands. The hands are covered by pressure gloves, which fit onto the suit. And the pressure helmet locks down tightly upon the neck ring of the suit. The helmet has an airtight feed port for water and food.
Right behind you. And we better press on to the big boulder.
And liftoff of the Orbiter Challenger and the sixth flight of the Space Shuttle.
Then came the Space Shuttle. And you could buy off the rack. One size fits all. Modular design made to fit any astronaut. No alterations required. That would be extra, right? Then you'd have to hire a tailor from downstairs. The ultimate leisure suit for the 21st century. The Zero Pre-Breathe suit eliminates the need for 3 to 4 hours of pressurization before wearing it out into space.
A far cry from Wiley Post and that first high-altitude suit. But for all we know, even that fashion could repeat itself.
NASA Ames, California. Scientists are actually looking at metal suits again. The AX-5 hard suit is made of aluminum. It was designed for the proposed space station.
But what about the future space? My Star Trek outfit was very comfortable. I can't believe we're destined to explore space looking like the Michelin Man.
Sorry, access to future restricted. Violates rules of time and causality. But consider, you space dreamers are planning to go to Mars. Planet may have supported life before it became frozen, dusty rust ball. If you successfully go, probability matrix indicates you will continue to develop technology. You will become space travelers, and your protection will have to evolve with you.
If we go?
Transmission complete.
A $10 million flexible spaceship. That's another way of describing space suits. Hamilton Standard is a company that produces space suits, and Brad Prouty is here to talk about their design. Welcome, Brad.
Hi, Nichelle.
Brad, we know we need this sexy get-up in space, but why?
Well, out in space, there's no atmosphere around you. There's no air to breathe, and there's no pressure around your body, and the temperatures can range to great extremes, plus 250 degrees to minus 250 degrees. So what a spacesuit does for you is it provides you this atmosphere around you, air to breathe, it removes contaminants, it can keep you warm and cold, and at the same time allow you to move around and perform work in space.
Okay, let's talk about what would happen if you had no spacesuit on in space, or if the spacesuit got ripped.
If it ripped extensively, it could certainly ruin your day. However, it is designed to withstand very small puncture holes or penetrations from micrometeoroids, such that emergency oxygen would be supplied and it gives you enough time to get back into the space shuttle.
Okay, now, as a future astronaut, I know the answer to this question. But for those of us who haven't been there, tell us, what do you do when astronauts have to go to the, you know?
Astronauts go to the bathroom in a couple of different ways. For males, it's done with a specially designed bag that you can urinate into. And for females, it's typically, they wear a diaper.
Uh-huh. Tell us about the spacesuit fashion of the future.
Spacesuits for the future, for missions on the moon and onto planet Mars, will require that they are lighter than they are today. So what you'll see is a spacesuit that is smaller, both in the space garment itself, or the suit garment, and in the backpack that provides the life support functions for the astronaut.
I want to thank you, Brad, for joining us on Inside Space.
Thank you.
Next week, find out why satellites don't fall from the sky. Be ringside when robots Tooth and Rocky battle it out to explore the planets. And be on emergency call when Earth puts in an SOS to space. In the coming weeks, we will visit Space Station 2024, transform a barren, hostile planet into Eden, be on location as Hollywood goes space, and travel 100 million years into our own future. Thank you all for joining us. I want to invite you to enter this quadrant next week and every week as we continue our journey inside space.